Okay, this is it. Last part of the series of self-love and self-care. Today we're going to talk about loving the skin you're in and the war on women. Oh man. So, you know what? I was sitting down thinking about how to tie all of this together. And truth be told, 30 minutes would not be enough time to really talk about just the war on women, right? And I say that with clearly a little bit of background, right? I recall thinking to myself that I wanted to, just do some things for Gwendolyn. And you look at what's going on, and women can't make a decision for their own bodies. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Like in all the places, really? So let me just start with when I say the war on women, and I mentioned this last Friday, that when a girl child comes into the world is attacking her from the first day, like hands down. Some of it, I don't even believe it's not done with malice. It's not, right? Like we are a people of tradition, and the idea of going against tradition, it can be a little like, this is why we've always done it. This is what this is, so on and so forth. So I get that when you make these kinds of comments that people are like, what do you mean? Well, let me just start with some things, right? And one thing that comes to mind are commercials. I'll start with that first because we've got our commercials, we got our movies, we have social media, we have the laws that we pass. All these things impact those of us who are of the female gender. So the commercial for Swiffer, and it was a few years back, and there's a young boy, he's like a little boy, and he's cutting his sister's hair. He's cutting it, and there's hair all over the place. Well, his mother comes out to clean the house, and his mother has this well-coiffed hairstyle, pearls, earrings, her cardigan, her heels, her crop pants, and she's cleaning the house. Now, I don't know about you guys. I don't know. But I can't even recall the last time I cleaned my house wearing a full get up and garb. Like I just, for me to be in my pearls and my cardigan and my crop pants and my heels and using a Swiffer or anything else is just absurd. Like, I'm from that age of the parents told you to not wear your good clothes when you went outside, right? So I'm on the older side. So we don't do cleaning in clothes of that nature. But then right after that commercial, I remember seeing a commercial for Mr. Clean. And the husband's cleaning. Okay, husband. And he's got the Mr. Clean, and the wife is looking at him, and instead of seeing him and his clearly dad bod, she sees Mr. Clean. He's bald headed and buff, and he's doing his thing, and she's just like, oh my God, I'm just so amazed. I'm like, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. So we start with those kinds of messages. So I'm going to dig into that really quick when I talk about the war on women. And I want to just shout out Otis. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Today we are talking about loving the skin we're in. And I'm going to just pivot to the war on women. And in my heart of hearts, it's a very good chance I'm going to come back to this discussion because it's so big. It really cannot be covered in just 30 minutes. It can't. But there are some things that I have noticed as a young person up until, well, I'm almost 50. about the messages that are sent to women. Now, make no mistake, those messages are also attacking our young men now as well, but they're more prevalent with women, right? As a little kid, you are told what a little girl should do, right? They remind you that, you should be seen, not heard. Don't be too bossy. Don't do this. Don't do that. Play with the easy bake oven. Don't you want like your baby doll? Because you're going to be a great mother one day. Like, we are giving them, young girls, this message of caring for other people. Forget you. Like, we're not really talking about you. It's about caring for your baby dolls and caring for somebody else, and let so-and-so do this, and being submissive. We start there. The toys and things. Now, I'm not going to talk about color because I like pink. I like purple, right? Love those colors. But we do know that the toys that we promote have this subliminal message attached to it. The boys get the Tonka trucks and the G.I. Joes and all the fighting things, and the girls play with other things. Don't be a tomboy. Don't go out there and play with those guys and get all those things, right? Don't play football. Don't do this. Now, there's a slight shift. Thank you, Jesus. There is a slight shift that's coming, but it's still there. So then you get of age and you start recognizing all the images that you see. Now, I recall the ultra thin models on the runway. Supermodels were beautiful. I just want to put that out there. But those ladies, they had curves. And then we had this super waist thin thing that happened. And there was this want to be super, super thin. Now, I have to say, for me, I was picked on for not having too many curves. So I was just trying to get some curves, right? Like, I was trying to get the curves. But if I look at the images that are shared with young girls now, I remember waking up one day and asking myself, why do all of these young women look like Bratz dolls? Like, what's up with that? With the almond eyes, and they're shaping their nose, and they're filling up their face, and they're shrinking stuff in and wearing waist trainers while they're on the track. Now, I will say this. I was not removed from that. I had Jet Magazine, and they had the Beauty of the Week. was never going to get that page, but I remember it. I remember. And then they had all the beautiful video vixens. And I thought, oh man, if I could just be like that, right? Because you're seeing it every single day. Now, all we had was what? Some videos and some magazines, right? But these young people today, there's social media, there's the videos, there's streaming videos, there's movies, there's the TV, there are like all these images, and still magazines and advertisements. There are so many messages about what they are not. I want to say a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, 3, that CVS decided to do the Clean Beauty campaign and remove those airbrushed photoshopped images from their beauty aisles, right? So that people can see that, yes, people have acne. They have acne and they have rosacea, and the skin is not like perfect. It's just not real. It's just not real. But we've seen it. We see it on social media that you can swap your face out and you could make your face look younger than what you are, but keep your adult body. And we know that even though we say that we should be solid in ourselves and feel good about how the good Lord made us, we know that seeing all those likes and all the retweets and all the things, you're like, wow, they're really popular. How can I be popular? How can I be like this person? Everybody was there at some point. Me, it was my sister. My sister, she had my mother's body and she was popular. She was a cool kid. What can I say? Gwendolyn, not so much. Not so much. but those messages are there. So it doesn't stop once you get of age. I mean, here I am, almost 50. And there's been this recent thing of a mommy and me makeover where you go in for like plastic surgery and stuff and snatch the waist and do all the things. And I'm just thinking, oh my God. So even when you're at this point in your life, there are still people telling you, like, let me just take a time out real quick. Pregnancy, right? So now we're so beautiful and we're beaming and you're just shining. You got this beautiful baby and oh my God, you're so adorable. And But in the moment you have the baby, you're like, oh my God, you still have that weight? You haven't lost that baby weight yet? Like, aren't you trying to like get back to like your regular clothes? Now, wasn't it just a few months ago I was like beautiful and beaming and now I'm just... So if I must, I just want to shout out Rihanna, right? Absolutely love how she is redefining what it means to be and look and wear as a pregnant woman. The idea of wearing some muumuu and being just like wrapped up like a nun, she was like, no, not doing it. This is a beautiful body that's going to birth a beautiful baby, and you're going to have to just love all of it. Man, I love that. I love it. It is rewriting the story. A woman's story when she's pregnant. And yeah, I just had a baby, so I'm going to have all of this. And it's beautiful before, during, and after. Absolutely love it. But we need more of that. Now, we do know that there were some people who thought, well, how dare she come out in this lace thing? How dare she come out in that? But you have to do it. You know what? Hey, you know, a good point. Jabrat. There's another one. Rewriting what it looks like to be pregnant. You know, there are so many traditions and ways of thinking about things traditionally that just need to go away. They just need to go away. I mean, I want to stay on point here because I want to get back into the messages that are sent. But if you ever looked at like the school dress code for kids, it is 2023. The idea of a young man having long hair, it's like, this is hair. Who cares? Who cares? But we're putting energy in all the wrong places. But I'm going to leave that one alone. Let me stay focused. So earlier this week, I saw a message from a young man who said, if you are 30 and older and not married, it's because you're not house trained. You probably don't know how to cook, how to clean. So therefore, you're not marriage material. There is nothing more exciting than speaking about women as if they're like a dog, right? Like an animal, a pet that needs to be kept, right? That we're not house trained. First of all, let me just say this. My father cooked for my mother up until the point he just could not physically do the job, right? He was a private chef. The kitchen is where he reigns supreme. Mother, she was good for fried chicken and pancakes on Sunday. All the other days, we really wanted Pops to cook. So I am coming from a household where the man cooked for his wife. Even when Mother retired and Pops was still working, he cooked for his wife. When she would do her Sunday sermon and come home, he made sure she had a Sunday meal on the table. This is my normal. So I knew that whoever I met, he had to know how to cook and keep a house. He had to know those things because that's what I saw in my household. You know, Pops cooked, right? And we all cooked. And in terms of keeping the house, keeping the car, we did all the things, right? Like I knew how to change my windshields, how to check my oil, how to change my tire, how to do all the things that when people are like, you need a guy to do that for you. I don't need anybody to do anything for me. Now, I know there are some people who go down the whole role of what a man's supposed to do and what a woman's supposed to do. And you're supposed to be submissive to your husband. He's a head of household. And I'm not even going to touch some of that today because I could be here for a while if I did it. But I'm not going to touch that. But I do want to touch that we are given messages about what role we should play, that the man should be the breadwinner. And as a young man, if you are told year after year after year that you should be the breadwinner, how do you respond when your partner makes more money than you? How do you react to that? And even though some guys are like, I don't care if my girlfriend did this and my wife made more money, that'd be so great. Easier said than done. And depending on who you hang around, those little voices in your ear, man, they come for the ego. But they tell us the roles that we should play as women. They tell us what we should or shouldn't do, right? That if a woman is passionate, is ambitious with her career, is straightforward in her communication, she comes across as bitchy. You don't want to be bitchy. You want to be liked. People have to like you. And we wonder why so many of us struggle with our positions of leadership. You have to make these decisions. And I would be a liar if I said that people didn't say I was bitchy. I would be a liar. But, what can I tell you? I felt good in stating my claim. And I knew working with my mentors that it's not about people liking me. It's about being respected. And there is a place in there, if I can put it all together, where you do find a lot of women who over apologize for just every little thing. Every little thing. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. It's like, what are we sorry for? Right? But I also think about all the lessons that we are taught when we're younger, that now we're at a place, and I really did believe that the pandemic would bring about a change and a shift, not only in how we live, but how we work as well. And it's slightly, there is this whole fight to go back to status quo, but status quo was not great for every single body. It just wasn't. So with the pandemic, a lot of us recognize that there is more to life than just the hustle and grind. You are here one day and you are gone the next, and you need to appreciate the people who are around you. And more importantly, take care of you. That needs to be done. There is a place where it is not about sleeping when you're dead. Who does that? Are you serious? But there is a place for self-care, self-preservation. You cannot pour into other people from an empty cup. We know that now, right? We do know that. We are aware of that. That, as I always say, rest is a requirement. It is not a reward. You must recharge the body. So I want to talk about loving the skin I'm in. Oh, it's just, and self-care. And that goes for everyone across the board. It's not just women, right? It's across the board. Everybody deserves to love their skin they're in, be appreciated. And that starts with you, because no one is responsible for your happiness, not even your partner. That's not their job. I had a young lady ask me about the secret to a successful marriage. And I said, well, You need to be a whole person before you get into a relationship. You need to know who you are, right? You need to be whole by yourself. Your partner compliments you, they don't complete you. So being a whole person, loving who this person is unconditionally. And I have mentioned, I love all my parts. There's ugly parts to Gwendolyn, and I have seen the ugly parts. My brother, shout out to him, could probably tell you some of the ugly parts. And I have seen the great parts too, right? I know that perfect does not exist. So I don't even strive for that because that's an illusion. It's an awful illusion. I don't bother. Don't bother with it at all. It does not fill you up. It doesn't make you feel good. If anything, it just gives you stress and gray hair. Now, my gray hair came from driving in Texas. Can I just go ahead and put that out there? I was good. I was living life. I was fancy free. And then I moved back to Texas and got a license. And then all this gray showed up. Driving is so highly overrated. Highly. But I digress. Knowing who you are, looking in the mirror and not BSing yourself. Recognize who you are. I know there are moments where I am a slacker, where I need to get stuff done, but I'm like, I'll get it done later. This 80-20 mindset. I'm like, well, it's 80%. It'll be okay. I can upgrade later. It's fine. It'll be fine. But I know who I am, right? And I love every little bit of her. But understand this, when you start going against the grain, and I know like I said, I'm almost 50, so I've already told my age, but there was a point in life where they talked about not being boastful, not being cocky, not being prideful, we are told to pretty much shrink all of us into like a little box and stay there. But then you get to a place where you have to ask for a raise, where you have to ask for a sell and tell people why you're worth the money you're worth. And we wonder why people can't get the words out, because we told them for so many years to not do those things. Don't toot your own horn. Don't be conceited. Now there's clearly a difference, but you should recognize your greatness and you should toot your horn. Every day, doot, just go ahead and toot it. When you have a win, because you have to define your idea of what is successful, you shout that sucker out. Got up this morning, washed the dishes. That's a great thing. But you have to recognize it for yourself. Someone can't do that for you. And a lot of us, we spend so much time looking for someone else to give us the accolades, to give us attention, to acknowledge us. But that starts here. So when I started my transformation in 2001, I picked up a phrase from Rand Nubian: love me or leave me alone. That's it. Gwendolyn is going to be Gwendolyn, bolds and all, right? All of it. And if you don't love what I'm bringing, then by God, you can keep on stepping. We're not going to adjust ourselves, make someone else feel comfortable. We're going to do what we're supposed to do. And sometimes that means you're going to stand alone. But I'm never really alone. Trust me. I may look like I'm alone, but I am never lonely and I am never alone. But loving who you are, telling yourself daily how beautiful you are, how smart you are, how great you are, and really meaning it, not just saying it just to say it. Like, I mean it. When people tell me, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, when people tell me, oh my God, you look so good today, my response tends to be, I look good every day, but thank you, I guess. I never come out, and I hate to say it, but I don't hate to say it. I never come out and say, oh my God, thank you. It's like, nah, I look good every day. You don't have to tell me that. Now, I know that seems extreme. I am certain for some people because I've gotten the response of, okay, yeah. The idea that you gave me a compliment just to get like some acknowledgement, well, that in itself is a problem. But no, I look good every day. Why are you dressed up? Are you going somewhere? No, I'm not. I could, like we do what we do for me. We either wear the makeup or we don't. I typically, go barefaced. It is what it is. But that takes a lot of work to get to that point. Keep in mind, this was not like an overnight thing. But if I want anything for every young woman out there, and when I say young, everybody's young, so it's not like an age thing. But I want other people to feel the love for themselves, that unconditional love, to recognize it, relish in it, bathe in it. And I would love it if my nieces and my nephews would not have to deal with some of the things that I see out there. Now, I know we can't shield our children from the haters in the world. And there's a lot of ugly in the world. But my mother and father always told us that we were made in God's image, that we're handsome, that we're beautiful. So when I got to a certain point, I was like, okay, let me remind myself of those things. I'm not saying that it's easy. There were days where I cried, yeah. But it takes a lot to build up that skin to say, you're gonna have to try harder. Otis says, as the old saying goes, when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good. Amen to that. That's truth. That is truth. So since you said that, when I do get dressed up to go work out, my outfit has to be together. For some reason, I tend to work out longer. I don't know what that's about. But that's the truth. It is about how you feel. And you don't want to be superficial, right? So I want to leave with this. I'm going to leave with it. That if you need a therapist or a counselor, then that's going to be necessary. Because a lot of us are carrying baggage from when we were kids and things that we haven't even uncovered and that we haven't ever really talked about with somebody else. That work needs to be done. Can it be done when you're in a relationship? It most certainly can. Do I think you should do it before that? I kind of say you should, but that's just my idea, right? It's to get yourself together before you get into a relationship. It can make it, the assumption is it could be easier, right? If you're working through that before you get into a relationship. Because a lot of times we keep going back to things that brought us pain and we can't figure out why we're doing the same thing. And yeah, get a therapist, get a counselor. And then after that, get you some good people who are somewhat like-minded, who like to celebrate self, who believe that self-care is not just bubble baths and champagne on a Sunday, Gwendolyn, but self-care is taking care of yourself, getting some exercise. Self-care is getting enough sleep. Self-care is eating well. And when I say eating well, hear me clearly. Again, coming from a household with a private chef, I do believe in getting all my vegetables, but trust me, I get up just to eat, right? I'm not a vegan. I'm going to enjoy some steak and everything else and a glass of wine. So, but if you're about keto, then you do keto. You do you. Do whatever's best for you, but show your own self-care. And Dr. Dale, your vibe is your tribe. Thank you, Dr. Dale. Thank you. Think about who you are bringing around you. That energy, man. Ooh, think about it. That is self-care. Saying no to what does not serve you is self-care. If that means telling your dear friends, associates, whomever, that you don't want to go out and that you don't want to participate in whatever they're doing, then that is your idea of self-care. Say no. And no is a complete sentence. Can we just recognize that one in 2023? That's where we are. That's it. And it's journey and it's work. But I can tell you, as a person who is living it, and again, when I see some of these messages, and now that I think about it, I'm going to probably have to come back and just talk about beauty standards by itself. It pains me when I see women who I believe are beautiful and gorgeous, and it's not my place to judge, but they go out and get work done, and it's not my place. It's not my place. It's not. So I never tell people, oh my God, you shouldn't have got that done. But on the inside, I question it. Because I see somebody, I'm thinking, oh my God, she is amazingly beautiful. And then you hear somebody say, no, I don't like what I see in the mirror every day. Dr. Dale, we'll have to do part 2. We'll do beauty standards next week, because that in itself, as I said before, this mommy and me procedure that women are getting done, plastic surgery, is there a way for us to ever get away from it? I believe that answer is no. But I do know that as a community, both business and personal, we can make changes. I love how Dove has changed their campaign, and they are talking about these destructive things that we are throwing on young women, and young men are not excluded from that, because if you see a guy who's ripped, trust me, there is some young man somewhere taking some drug to get these ripped abs. It's not just the girls, it's the guys too. I have to think, as she says, would you say that they're unhappy with themselves? I assume yes. And I remember, I'm going to try to find this clip, but it was Joan Rivers talking with Whoopi Goldberg, and she was telling Whoopi how when she looks in the mirror, she does not like what she sees. And again, talking of age, I remember Joan before the knife, and then seeing Joan after the knife, time and time and time again. You can change all of this. It's not gonna change how you feel on the inside. The inside is where the work needs to happen. And that's, man, let me tell you, it's some work. It is some work, always. Now, do I look at myself and say, oh my God, Gwendolyn, you should do this, you should do that? Nope, because when I get off of this live, I got popcorn waiting on me, and I've got a nice gallon of Bluebell ice cream, that Dr. Pepper ice cream float flavor. Oh yeah, I'm finna get into it. It's Friday. I can work out tomorrow. It's going to be okay. That's perfectly fine. But I do believe that people, God, I hate to say it, but there is something where you're trying to fix what's here. But from what I've seen, when you start, you can't stop, because what's really broken can't be fixed on the outside. Oh, I was thinking because a few friends, I thought I read an article. And I like to check all my resources, but I thought I read an article about a young lady recently who had a mommy and me procedure and passed away from it. And that's the part that gets me. Plastic surgery. Okay, surgery is a thing by itself. Like, whenever the times that I have gone in to have my surgeries and they make you sign off that, hey, we're going to put you under it, you may not come back out. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll sign it, but I need an anesthesia. So we know that it's serious. But it's awful. It's awful to see people who go through this process to fix something and it just becomes worse. And yes, Dr. Dale, you are, people, they swear they're happy with it. But part 2, Dr. Dale, we're doing it. Part 2 next week. We're gonna do the deep dive on the beauty standards, because there was that show by K. Michelle. People who had like the botched plastic surgeries who almost lost their life because of it. Woo! I tell you. And again, that is not just impacting young women, but it's impacting young men as well. So we're going to talk about beauty standards next week. Let's go ahead and do it. We might as well. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and even those who will tune in later for the replay, right? Again, this is Gwendolyn G.R. Houston Jack, because, people like to call me G, and I like G too. It's pretty good. It's like, what up, G? What up, man? It sounds good. But we are ending this part of the series of loving the skin you're in, being who you are, just coming to terms with, I'm going to say it, what the good Lord has made, because you're made in his image. And last time I checked, he didn't make any mistakes. You know what I'm saying? So you might want to go ahead and appreciate that. But it is the weekend. I want everyone to have a safe weekend, Lord willing, and we'll see you all then.